Learning a new language can be very daunting, take courage and lots of time. It can also be very demotivating when you don't seem to make progress. Now this series is all about providing you with the instant language to use, get a reaction, and hopefully learn a thing or two that will stick. And who knows, you might even be inspired to start learning Greek properly.
And when you go on holiday, you just need those few words, phrases, and a bit of slang and you're happy, right? So let's get into it.
Hello everyone, and welcome to the My Greek Island podcast, Bitesize Greek series edition with your teachers George Tsounyas
And Maria Petrakou. So Yorgo, what are we learning today?
Today, we are going somewhere, surprise, surprise, very Greek again, and somewhere I am in no doubt our listeners have been to if they have visited Greece. And I mean, if you have visited Greece and you haven't been to one, I mean, I don't know where you've been because they're everywhere. But the amount of people that go to Greece and personally tell me about the gyros, or also you might see it and think it's pronounced gyros, but it's gyros.
Yeah.
Yep. Usually you'll get this at the Souvlatzidiko, which is the grilled meat shop, kebab shop-esque type thing, Greek vibes. But there is one thing, before we get into the episode, that I'm promising you today, Maria.
So other than learning to correctly pronounce the word gyros,
Gyros and Souvlatzidiko.
What is the other thing, Yorgo?
So the other thing, because of last episode, our last bite size, I think was nearly 25 minutes. So I've promised to keep this to 10 minutes to actually be a bite-sized episode.
Excellent.
So, yeah, let's see how we go.
Excellent. So, πάμε?
Πάμε.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of the My Greek Island podcast, dedicated to take you, the wanderlust, on a journey through Greece.
There are 227 inhabited Greek islands. Which one will you visit next?
My Greek Island, with your hosts George and Maria.
So you're in Greece and you find yourself going to the Greek takeaway-ish type restaurant called Souvlatzidiko. And the Souvlatzidiko is the home of the souvlaki. And lots of you will know what a souvlaki is. If you don't, it's that long wooden stick with pieces of meat on it, where you also find gyros, and potentially in many places that I've seen recently, there are vegetarian and also vegan options. Although, caveat, it does remain quite meat heavy. But for the purposes of this episode, you're not taking anything away, but you're taking a seat to dine in, and there are 4 of you. So first things first, you are going to ask for a table for 4 people, which would be ένα τραπέζι για 4 άτομα παρακαλώ. A table for 4 people, please. Ένα τραπέζι για 4 άτομα παρακαλώ.
And many Greeks will not even need a menu at this type of restaurant or eatery, but they usually are available. Or you'll see like a big panel behind near the grills, which actually talk about what is available, as many also do takeaway options. But often most places offer approximately the same type of options, right?
Yeah, they do. And that's why often many Greeks don't need a menu. They just order their preference. So the first off is the classic souvlaki, so the meat skewer. And options usually include pork or chicken. So pork is chirino souvlaki, or kotopoulo, which is chicken, kotopoulo. So if you were ordering one, ένα souvlaki chirino, so a pork souvlaki, or 2 souvlakia, so double, 2 souvlakia kotopoulo. So 2 chicken skewers. Always followed by
Amazing.
παρακαλώ, which I didn't say.
Of course, 100%. But I just wanted to say, plug here, George, that depending on where you are in Greece,
Yes.
if you say souvlaki, it can mean a different thing.
Yes.
So if you actually want, and sorry, I'm going to make this episode more than 10 minutes that you promised at the beginning, but if you just want the skewer, if you're in Athens, you would say kalamaki, which actually means straw. But if you say that in Thessaloniki, people look at you weirdly, rocking up Souvlatzidiko asking for a straw, although the majority actually know.
They will know. They just pretend they don't know. We got really confused in Thessaloniki, and I was like, do we say kalamaki? Do we say souvlaki? And I was like, just say souvlaki.
Yeah. So when you say souvlaki in Athens, usually you're going to get it in the bita, which you're going to talk about in a bit. If you just want the skewer, say kalamaki. But there's no wrong. I mean, I'm sure that everyone will be patient with you to try and figure out what you actually want.
Exactly. And the important thing is that you're making an effort to speak Greek. Other things that you could get is a bifteki, which is a burger, but it's not usually in a bun. It's like the meat in itself. So we would have it in England like bunless burger, but it's just literally just the patty, yes. Yeah. Or you could get brizoles, which are chops, usually pork. And you could also have paidakya, which are ribs, I think. Paidakya ribs.
The lamb, I think they're usually lamb chops.
Chops, yeah. My favorite, other than souvlaki, is the bifteki gemisto, which is a patty which is stuffed, and it's usually stuffed with cheese, and it's delicious. Love it.
If you don't have a dairy intolerance,
no, if you don't have dairy intolerance, and usually I've found a place in Athens that does it with blue cheese. I'm like, okay, life made. It's amazing. So yeah,
there's some places that. So the traditional way is actually to stuff it with feta, which is also extremely
and tomato,
good.
I think. Yeah.
I don't remember the tomato, possibly,
lovely.
But the cheese, the chosen cheese that usually goes in the bifteki is feta, which is really good. Anyway, so for souvlaki, you can either have them individually or you can have them in a portion, as we said before. So individually, like as a kalamaki. So usually when you order a kalamaki, it usually comes in a little bag with a piece of bread and lemon.
It does, yeah. When you take away, yeah.
Or you can have a merida, which means a portion, which usually comes on a plate with like 2 skewers, salad, French fries, pita, and sometimes some dip as well. So to order that, you will say mia merida souvlakia. So that's mia merida souvlakia.
Perfect. Right? Yeah, that's usually what I get. And should you wish to get the wrap form, so we would go for a pita, or you sometimes might hear it as tilikto, which is the literal translation of wrap. So you could get this with a souvlaki, as we said, the skewer, or you could get the gyros, but we call it gyro. So you have gyro kotopoulo, which is a chicken, or gyro chirino, which is the classic pork.
And do you think for anyone that I'm just going to plug, for anyone that doesn't know what gyro is, it's the doner.
Oh, the doner thing, this thing that's spinning.
Yeah.
Spinning around, move out of my and here when you have like a pita gyro or pita souvlaki chirino, for example, they usually stuff it with a lot of salad, sauce. You can get chips. You can even get tzatziki. I go for the full version, so everything, which is ένα γύρο απ' όλα, which basically means they're going to put everything in. They'll put the tomato. They'll put the onion. They'll put the kitchen sink in. Then I'm joking.
They will. So I think the typical version of the original Athenian souvlaki, if I'm not mistaken, and if someone knows, get in touch.
Back check.
I think it's literally tzatziki, tomato, onion, French fries, and they would put like this paprika sauce on top as well. But I think it was those 3 or 4 ingredients. And then now you might get some lettuce as well. But the majority usually just tend to put tomato, onion, and French fries. And then just the sauce.
Yes. And if you don't want something in it, you can say choris, which means without. And if you're in the north of Greece, like around Thessaloniki, they do also, which I absolutely love, but in Athens, they look at you very, very weirdly. You have ketchup and mustard mixed in with everything. Oh my God, it's amazing. Have you had that?
There's some new there's no, I've not, but I mean I stopped going to Souvlatzidiko years ago, but the whole nuances between countries and regions is really interesting because like in Cyprus they'll put tahini in the souvlaki, which I think is really I used to really enjoy with the chicken souvlaki. And then, or you put like yogurt instead of tzatziki, like plain yogurt. So there's nuances across versions, across locations. But I know that in Thessaloniki they put like ketchup and mustard. Although in Athens, I don't think you very frequently find a souvlaki that will actually put ketchup or mustard.
Yeah, you'd have to ask, and they'll probably look at you a bit oddly. But on that topic
a bit funny.
of likes and dislikes, what do you like in this sort of thing?
So if I was to think back, probably my university years when I would eat a lot of meat, I would actually still never eat a bita or a gyros. So gyros is something that I would never be fond of. I'd usually go for the kotopoulo souvlaki or chirino souvlaki. But I would rarely get it in a bita. And the reason, and I'm plugging this for anyone that would be of interest, is because they dip the bita in oil before they put it on the grill. And I found that quite heavy. So when occasionally I would get it in a bita, I would always say, can you not dip my bita in oil and just,
clean living. You were clean living oil. Even back then.
I've always been clean living.
Okay.
I don't know. I was just always a bit on the oil. A bit.
It can get quite oily and greasy. And one thing, sorry to interrupt, if you have got the wrap, just make sure you get extra serviettes underneath because sometimes you can get the oils dripping down on your lovely, summer outfit that you've worn.
Not if you get it without oil.
If you get it without oil, if you get a merida, which is usually on a plate, you won't have that problem.
Exactly.
But many a good outfits have been ruined with oil dripping down my lovely t-shirts. So, yeah.
Oh, you've ruined a lot of your outfits, haven't you, George?
Anyway, carry on.
Anyway, but to get back to it, if you want to order your bita without oil, you say aladoti, which literally translates to without oil. But yeah, that's how you get it without oil. That's what I would eat back in the day. Otherwise, I would literally just get kalamagia with some French fries or salad. And then, of course, for our veggie or vegan friends, ask what they have. Like a really good way would be to say, υπάρχει κάτι με λαχανικά. Υπάρχει κάτι με λαχανικά. And I mean, I'm not aware of this, but George has informed me that many of the places actually come with veggie kebab, which is effectively on a skewer they will put vegetables instead of the meat and create this skewer so that our veggie friends can eat something as well. So, and also that there is the option of putting potatoes in the pita, which apparently is called patatopita. No, I've never had one, so I need to try you out on that,
It's like a chip butty, but Greek style with all the trimmings inside minus the meat.
Amazing.
And obviously if you're vegan,
so that's patatopita.
And if you're vegan, you probably wouldn't put in any of the tzatziki or anything with cheese. So yeah, not that you have cheese in there, but if you were to have. And then I think
well, I mean, if you take out the meat and the tzatziki, everything else is vegan.
So can be tailored. And drinks wise, I'm probably going to disappoint here, Maria, but other than your soft drinks, traditionally you have a beer or maybe beer or wine. So miambira, which is a beer, and wine usually is the house, so house type of wine. And that would be krasi hima, and then you'd have lefko, which is white, kokino, red, or my favorite of choice, rosé, which is rosé. So lefko, kokino, or rosé. So sorry, Maria, not the usual wine list that you like to see, study, know where the places are. However, I think more and more, I mean, when I visited Thessaloniki a few months ago, you are seeing more upmarket, if you like, Souvlatzidiko type places opening up where, the meats, they have different variety of meats. The menus are a bit more, not gourmet, but a bit more fine. And you do get your wine list that you can have local wines from. So
Yeah, although I mean the souvlaki in general is more of a casual
yes,
concept. So you're going to want more of a casual drink. And what better than just souvlaki and a
yeah.
nice beer? And Greece does produce some very nice
And
beers.
also the good thing with the souvlaki, it's fresh because they're just cooking it on the spot, there, and you get the
Yeah.
smell. But if you did want to take away, so let's say you want to go and take it back to your room or take it down to the beach or, just take away because you're in a rush,
Or literally
on
eat
the
it,
go.
or literally just eat it on the
So the
street.
words you use
Yeah.
after, there's two ways you can say it. You can say if you're having a wrap, stocheri, which means like on your hand, so like you have it like basically to take away by hand, or you can have ya paqueto, which means they put it in a packet and you take away. So stocheri or ya paqueto.
With the only I'd caveat here that if you say stocheri, they're probably not going to wrap it up.
Yeah,
They'll literally give
open.
it to you ready to
Yes,
eat. And if you say ya paqueto, they will, wrap everything up and put it away as
yeah,
if you're taking it away and going to eat it somewhere else
perfecto.
and not on the go.
Yes.
Cool. And lastly, to wrap things up, for eating in, and you'd like to ask for the bill. And I'm sure we've shared
Think
this
we
one
have.
before, but let's share it again. Which would be, if we want to say, can we have the bill, please? We would say, μπορούμε να έχουμε το λογαριασμό, παρακαλώ. Μπορούμε να έχουμε το λογαριασμό, παρακαλώ.
Perfect. Looking at the time thing, we have slightly gone over the 10 minutes. However, before we wrap up, I think we need to try and talk less on these bite sizes. I don't know. But anyway, before we go, we're going to recap some of the key words and phrases of this episode for when you, I guess, inevitably find yourself going to the Souvlatzidiko. And remember, George and Maria had you covered. So, Maria, you're going to start off with the souvlaki.
Amazing. So, for a chicken souvlaki, ένα σουβλάκι κοτόπουλο. Ένα σουβλάκι κοτόπουλο.
And if you were to get two pork souvlakia, δύο σουβλάκια χοιρινά, δύο σουβλάκια χοιρινά.
And if you want a doner with everything except tomato, you could say ένα γύρο απ' όλα χωρίς ντομάτα. Ένα γύρο απ' όλα χωρίς ντομάτα.
And then for our veggie or vegan friends, maybe asking if there's something with vegetables. Υπάρχει κάτι με λαχανικά? Is there something with vegetables? Υπάρχει κάτι με λαχανικά?
And if, for example, you want to order the potato pie that we mentioned or the potato wrap, μία πατατόπιτα. Μία πατατόπιτα.
And then if you were to take it away and you wanted it open for you, στο χέρι, so literally you're going to give it to your hand, στο χέρι, or if you wanted it wrapped up to take away, για πακέτο, για πακέτο.
And then to ask for the bill, the quickest way, το λογαριασμό παρακαλώ. Το λογαριασμό παρακαλώ. Right, my Greek Islanders, I think this comes to the end of this bite-sized learning Greek episode. And we really hope that you enjoyed a trip to the Souvlatzidiko with us. So what's coming next, Yorgo?
So we have already been to two food places. So we've been to the Souvlatzidiko, also to the Cafenio. So the next one is still on the food voyage of discovery. However, it's going to be looking and satisfying our more sweeter side, so our sweet tooths, and we're going to the cake shop, or as it's known in Greek, which is a bit of a mouthful, apologies, sto zacharoplastio. Sto zacharoplastio. So I think until the next episode of the Bite Size or our normal series, make sure you follow us at My Greek Island on Instagram, on TikTok at My Greek Island, and also don't forget to check out the website and send us your bite-size Greek learning requests. Γεια σας.
Γεια σας.
Right, my Greek Islanders, This comes to the end of another episode of this podcast.
Now you know the drill. If you like this episode, share it to share the love with the My Greek Island community, where everyone is welcome. And
don't forget to follow, like, subscribe, and all that jazz. And maybe give us a little rating from wherever you're listening to us from, so you are notified every time a new episode drops. And if you have any suggestions or requests, get in touch.
And for those of you visiting Greece, don't forget to tag @MyGreekIsland on Instagram for a future feature. Until then, see you later, or as they say in Greek,
Ta leme.